tell you what. Like, knowing Pat as a personal friend, and I love him, but his music is Shabbat Shalom. Sorry for interrupting your conversations with the opening melody. Not sorry. There is so much to celebrate this weekend. It's a wonderful weekend to be Jewish. It is Shabbat Shirah, our Sabbath of song. Thank you, Mike. Where you online didn't see what just happened, but I was thanking the microphone for projecting. It is the Sabbath of song where we celebrate with song as much as we can without Jenna, but that means you get to sing. It is the Shabbat before Tu B'Shvat, the birthday of the trees, and it is Martin Luther King weekend. So I should have said great to be American Jews because it's an American holiday. So welcome to Shabbat Shir Tu Bish Luther King. And if you happen to be related to Naomi Kaladny, it's also, or friends of hers, or here to celebrate her, or maybe you know who she is, or if you can see her, wave your hand. Then it is also Shabbat Shir Tu Bish Luther Kingadny. So I had to say that 40 times this afternoon to get it right. We're celebrating Naomi Kaladny becoming a bat mitzvah. Tomorrow morning is the official service. Tonight she's going to make a couple of appearances, celebrating as we do with song. But we're going to start by inviting Naomi and her parents to come and light our Shabbat candles. You all can find the blessing on page 2. Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. You may be seated. Starting Shabbat with candles is a way to show that we are partners with God in Shabbat. One candle for the people of Israel, one candle for God. And the other way we partner is by recognizing the Sabbath Queen, who is on her way in to help us bring in Shabbat. And she is the personification of Shabbat. She is wisdom and rest and wonder all wrapped in one. And she's right now on the 405. And if we start singing, it always works that right when we get to the last verse, she comes in the door right at the last verse. So, and that's why we rise in the last verse and face the door. And we got to start now because she's on her way. Page 20. Shabbat Oh my gosh, Shelley is the Shabbos queen. Who knew? It's so good to see you. I mentioned earlier Shabbat Shirah, among other things, and the culminating moment of Shabbat Shirah, the reason we call it Shabbat Shirah, in fact, is because of Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, which is read in this week's Torah portion, B'Shalach. Now, I'm not going to give away anything that you're going to say. I had to go to 3 different people to find Naomi. I'm not going to give away anything you're going to say tomorrow, I promise, okay? But I'm going to talk a little bit about it right now. So at the Song of the Sea, the Israelites are in this position where, there's water in front of them and the Pharaoh's army behind them. And what are they going to do? They need to move forward. But have you ever been in that group of people where, like, someone says something that's, like, totally obvious, like, hey, does anybody know the capital of California? And everyone goes, you just couldn't help yourself, could you? I heard it. Was that you, John? Yeah. You're right. I was just thinking of an easy question. It's Sacramento for those of you at home. Which I know now because John told me. So they're doing that thing, and then one man steps forward. And raise your hand if you've heard of Nachshon ben Aminadav. Okay, so the 3 of you go to services regularly and go to classes regularly, or perhaps served in the Israeli army, or really study Shirat Hayam a lot. So whatever it is that the 3 of you know Nachshon ben Aminadav, but out of the other 25 or so of you, I would say that's probably about normal odds for it to be like 22 to 3 who know or who don't know versus know Nachshon ben Aminadav, because he had a terrible press agent. But he did a really, really cool thing. When everyone's doing this, Nachshon took a running leap. He ran right at the water, jumped, and his feet hit the water, and he landed slowly onto totally dry ground as the waters parted right as his feet entered. Because all it took to part the waters was not just a miracle. Yes, it was a miracle. It was not just the prayer, although Moses did pray at the water. It was an act of faith that made the miracles happen. And it's always acting that makes miracles happen. Miracles don't happen on our own. Even when we see something that we declare is a miracle, we know that it didn't happen just by itself. It has to happen with human work to make miracles, and that's what we do. And because Nachshon stood up, moved forward, and became that miracle, we are going to rise. You don't have to physically stand if it makes you uncomfortable, but we're going to rise for Baruch Hu after we invite Naomi up to lead us. Baruch Hu can be found on page 28.
chanting the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vechayu hadivarim ha'elech asher anochi mitzavecha chayom alevavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvletecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecham ukshartav leod al yadecha v'chayu letotefot ben einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru ve'asitem et kol mitzvotaim veitem kedoshim le'olechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hoseiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lechiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Now, before we sing Michamocha, of course, it's Shabbat Shirah. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Michamocha is the blessing that happens right in the middle of Shirat Hayam. Tomorrow morning, it's part of the words that you're going to say, as you know. And there is another midrash on Michamocha that's actually it's less of a midrash. It's pretty much right out of the text. It's just hopefully said in a way that's easier to catch than the way it happens in the text. So I mentioned earlier Moses was praying at the water, and Nachshon was the one who went forward. While Moses is praying, do you know what God says to Moses? Do you know what God says to Moses? While Moses is praying, God says something to him at the Red Sea. Do you know what he says? Yeah, pretty much. But before so she said, stand up and hold his staff out. Yes, like Moses needs to act. But right before that, right before God says, hold out your staff, God says, Moses, why do you stand there praying? Why are you sitting there praying? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine if you were told in religious school that God said to somebody to stop praying? My brother-in-law thinks all I do is pray. He thinks that's my job. So did Isabella Abrahams. I don't know if you knew that. But we do a lot of different things in life. Whether we're leaders of our people like Moses, whether we're rabbis, doctors, lawyers, teachers, no matter what we do, sure, there are times when we need to talk about it. We need to make sure that we understand the systems and the teachings and what there is, but usually things happen when we do them. So God says, Shah, Moses, get going. And Moses finally does hold out his staff, and that's when Nachshon runs and jumps. And we're going to sing a song about it right now. Michamocha, page 40. to come. We continue on page 42 with Vishamru. 44. Bnei Israel, od hi leolam. Veshamru Bnei Israel et hashabat, asot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz veshamru bnei Yisrael et hashabat asot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash. Veshamru bnei Yisrael et hashabat, asot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. So we know that in the story the sea parts, but do you know afterwards what happened when the sea goes back together? What happens? Egyptians are drowning. Pharaoh's army is drowning. I heard it like this through the mask. I heard it. So yes, the sea closes and the Egyptians are drowning in the water, and that's the moment when the Israelites are singing. And if you really read the words to Song of Songs, it's not, all happy, clappy rainbows and unicorns. It's more like, yay, Pharaoh's army is in the ocean. And because of this, God lets the Israelites sing, but the angels kind of get swept up in it. You know how when you're watching someone sing, or you're listening to someone sing and you love the music and you start singing along? That's what happened with the angels. The angels start singing along. Yay, Pharaoh's horses and chariots are in the ocean. And God says, cut that out. God says to the angels, how dare you sing when my children are drowning? To me, this is one of the more powerful midrashim in all of our stories. The idea that these people who are chasing Israel down to enslave them, to catch them and bring them back and put them back into these horrible conditions. And the only way to stop them, because they said no so many times. They said yes and then no, and then they said yes, okay, oh, never mind. And then finally they said yes and then never mind, and they started chasing them down. So the probability of it being a good ending for the Israelites, should the Egyptians catch them, is extremely low. And God probably begrudgingly closes the sea on the Egyptians. But when the angels start singing about it, it's too much. How dare you sing when my children are drowning? We need to remember that. We should remember that midrash every day. It's not just the enemies who want to enslave us and kill us. It's the enemies who disagree with us on the internet that we need to remember they are God's children. It's our enemies who need to learn a little bit about how to speak to us as human beings. Those are God's children too. It's the people who would do anything to knock us out of our job or our status as an American or whatever it is. Those are God's children too. And when we can remember not to sing at their failures, when we can remember not to celebrate their losses, that's when we will all really move to the time of miracles. So as we move into our Amidah, our prayer where we rise together to offer the most important blessings of our hearts, I want to encourage you as we move into silent prayer to take the other into your prayers tonight. Say a blessing for someone who maybe you were angry at. Offer thanks to someone who challenged you, and see how it might change your outlook on whatever it is you might be disagreeing about. You rise and turn to page 46.
Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Elohei Bilhah, Elohei Bilhah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Komel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, V'zocher chasdei avot v'ima'ot, U'mei ulam livnei v'nehem, L'ma'an shemo be'ava, Melech ozer u'mashiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai,
Magin Abraham ve'ezrat
Sarah, Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, B'chaye hakol atah, Rav le'oshia, Mashiv haruach u'marid ha'gashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachabim bramim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Livshenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, Melech mimid, Umechayem, Umatzmiah Yeshua, V'neman ata lechayot hakol.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Mechaye hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We take a moment for our own personal prayers. Calling in a ringer for our coming out of silent prayer song in honor of this weekend's Martin Luther King Jr. Shabbat.
All that I've stirred about today to Martin Luther King. Recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth. Ties of hope and love, of sister and brotherhood. That we are bound together in our desire to see the world become a place in which our children can grow free and strong. We are bound together by the task that stands before us and the road that lies ahead. We are bound and we are bound. There is a feeling like the clenching of a fist. There is a hunger in the center of the chest. There is a passage through the darkness and the mist. And though the body sleeps, the heart will never rest. Recognize there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth. Ties of hope and love, sister and brother.
You can be as nice to me as you want, but I can't sing it like James Taylor. We are going to pick up with our service for reading the Torah this evening, Seder Kriyat HaTorah. It begins on page 246. Page 246, please rise. You may be seated. I've mentioned Song of the Sea a couple times this evening. And while that is the central moment of Parashat B'Shalach, it's not the only thing that happens in the Parashah. In the chapter immediately following Shirat Hayam, for example, the Israelites first encounter manna. In Exodus chapter 16, the Israelites complain about the lack of food in the desert, so God makes flocks and flocks of quail cover the camp so they could catch them and have dinner. And in the morning, there's a fine, flaky, frost-like substance on the ground. The Israelites looked at it and said, "What is this?" And Moses told them it's the bread that God has given them for food. Moses never calls it manna. The Israelites give it the name manna, from their original question, what is this? Which is rendered manhu in the Torah. So manna essentially means, what? To exacerbate our confusion over the magical mystery food, a little further down the page, the Torah explains the manna was white like coriander seed, and it tasted like wafers made of honey. Question for all my culinary fans out there, what color is coriander? Pale green when it's fresh. When we use it, it's usually brown. It's toasted to brown. Not white. So why white like coriander? So again, what? And the rabbis in the Talmud, they noticed this problem, that coriander's not white. So in Tractate Yoma, Rabbi Asi says that manna is white like a pearl. And the rabbis play around as to why the Torah would compare manna to coriander. They focus on the Hebrew word God, which is not G-O-D, but in Hebrew, Gimel Daled, God, which is coriander. Rabbi Asi suggests that it's like flax, that coriander looks like flax because the Israelites collected it in a bundle, agud, God, agud. Other rabbis say that it's God because of agadah. a legend that draws the heart close to it, the way the Israelites were drawn close together by the process of collecting manna. When you cook together, you're like a family. Another teacher says that it's called God because it's like Magid, because the Israelites were able to predict the future with manna. And there are stories about that move on, that beside the point. Now, I love the little word games, in part because it's comforting to know that for centuries, rabbis have been just as interested in the deep intellectual practice that is punning. And in part because it gives us permission to interpret our stories the way we need them at any given moment. So tonight I've been telling stories that expand on the narrative of Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, making an amazing story even more amazing by adding moments of heroism, partnership, and humility to our miracles. It's our stories that make our tradition so rich, because every layer we add to a sacred story becomes a part of our shared history of holiness. And because at every crossroads, we are reminded that we have the power to shape and reshape our own narrative. So this holiday weekend, may we all shape our world into one that embraces the values of Shabbat Shirah, Tu B'Shvat, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. May we acknowledge that it is not just one story that defines us, but layer upon layer of Magid Agatanu, telling our stories that ask us to define ourselves. May it be God's will. So tonight, Naomi is going to read from Parashat Beshalach. She's going to read right after the Song of the Sea. She'll be starting at Exodus chapter 15, verse 20. And if you'd like to follow along in your Plout commentary, it's on page 490, page 490. And just be forewarned, she is going to skip some pages, not because she's skipping around in the Torah, but because the Torah has commentary right in the middle while she's talking. So rather than let Rabbi Gunther Plout, of blessed memory, amazing teacher, rather than let his teachings interrupt her, if you want to put a finger on page 497 so that you can just, when she gets to that part, there you go. Ta'amod Naomi bat Edvadia la'aliyah la-Torah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'na'antan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Vatika Miriam Hanavi'ah Achot Acharon et Hatov Be'ada Vatetzena Chol Chanashim Acharecha Betupi Uvim Cholohot Vata'an Lahem Miriam Shiru Adonai Kiga Oka'a Sus Verochvo Rama Vayam Vayasa Moshe et Yisrael miyam suf vayetzu el midbar Ashur vayelchu sheloshet yamim bamidbar velo matzu mayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata betuchenu. Baruch atah Adonai
Nontain HaTorah.
Amen. Yishar kochech. Well, I don't know if you saw them rubbing their hands together just now. That's because you gave them chills and they had to warm up. So, nice work. The entirety of Shirat Hayam will be chanted by Naomi tomorrow morning. If you thought that was good, wait until tomorrow morning, 10:30. You can come in if you've pre-registered. You can watch at cbtfv.org/streaming if you would like to watch from the comfort of your own home. But please still dress up like you're in services. With the Torah open before us, we know God is listening close to our words, so we take a moment to bring into our hearts, into our prayers, those in our community, those in our lives who need a prayer for healing. Tonight we are thinking especially of Leo Abrahams, Dylan Artunian, Heather Artunian, Fran Bowie, Myrna Capsuto, Georgina Chapman, Nancy Danger, Larry Dratch, Carol Ensley, Patrick Freeman, Pilar Gill, Barbara Heimoff, Jennifer Hansel, Lara Hedbor, Risa Heller, Bev Hirsch, Ira Hirsch, Julie Holdaway, Savannah Jackson, Sherry Jones, Philip Klein, Rachel Corazim, Lori Laren, Joan Lerner, Nestor Melo, Yasmin Moreno, Jeanette Ruby, Michael Simons, Karsten Strybe, Marlene Chirgell Smith, Betty Wood, Aviva Bat Moralea, Chayalea Bat Miriam, Sarah Rivka Bat Nisan, Shira Aliza Bat Chana Bracha, Eliana Ruth Bat Avraham Vasara, Esther Malka Chana Bat Batya Ruth, Velvel Moshe Ben Maralea. Of course, we take into our hearts all of those who are struggling with sickness right now, especially those who are struggling with COVID, and we thank you all for keeping us safe by using human action to keep the miracle going and wearing your masks and wearing them right. We really appreciate it. And if you would like to sing along and you don't know the words, Misha Berach is on page 253 in the middle. Recited aloud, all those names will remain on our hearts, and I'm sure the names that were typed in the chat, may they all come to a full healing, a complete healing of body, mind, and spirit as we say together, Amen. We are going to rise for Hagbah, for the lifting of the Torah, and we'll put the Torah away. You're going to be able to see exactly where Shirat Hayam is. Where Naomi read tonight was just below that. If Thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. We remember the holy martyrs of every age of Jewish memory, from the Crusades to the Inquisition, from the English expulsion to the Russian pogroms, from the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem to the destruction of communities in the Holocaust. We remember those who have given their lives for our nation and for the state of Israel. We also take to heart the 337 Americans who lost their lives this week to gun violence. As we remember them all, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death, perhaps choosing one of the meditations on page 288 and following, for whichever words the heart may prompt. Think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. From our CBT community, we remember Penny Salzberg, for whom we are observing Shloshim. We also remember those for whom we observe a yahrzeit this week, the anniversary of their death this week. Gwendolyn Benton, Nessie Cohn, Ronald Lawrence Cole, Tiffany Cowan, Adam Fishman, Anna Gelfand, Betty Goldberg, Shirley Green, Ben Hirsch, Warner Hirsch, Ezekiel Ed Joseph, Alan Cantor, Sidney Kenway, Seymour Colson, Joseph McReynolds Sr., Sidney Mencher, Milton Monas, Bud Nelson, Bertha Ida Reichstein, Jeanette Ribman, Aaron Max Sermon, Joseph Schraga, Celia Willis. Are there any other names for Kaddish this evening? Memories of all of them are with us. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we rise together as one community for Kaddish Yatom, Mourners Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma di v'ra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Yithadar, V'yit'aleh, V'yithalal, Shmei Kudusha. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Yehe shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Kol Yisrael Imru. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated.
Good evening to those out there and to these who are here with us today. First, I'm Suzanne Seiden, and I'm representing the board here at CBT. First of all, I want to thank this very lovely lady. Naomi, you did a wonderful job, and I'm sure everyone is looking forward to hearing how well you do tomorrow. We need to consider that we're all dealing with surprises on a daily basis on how to deal with our health and our situation here. So I wanted to remind you that things change weekly, daily. So be sure to check online or communication with CBT to see which things are staying in person, which things are virtual. Changes are happening, and we all just have to deal with it the best we can. One cool thing that's happening this weekend called Clue, correct? And it's a Tu B'Shah Seder, which is going to be a variety of people, some faces that you will totally recognize and would love to see. That's going to be Sunday, January 16th at 5 o'clock. You do need to register for that. You can find that information online and here, if I'm going to say it correctly, tinurl.com, correct? T-I-N-Y, thank you. I knew I might not say that right. tinurl.com, and yeah, you'll see some faces that you'll be very happy to see, and looking forward to that, please. I wanted to thank tonight, of course, our instrumental accompaniment, Catherine, and wanted to thank Jay for ushering and being my literal right-hand man tonight. and of course Rabbi Young, and we look forward to seeing you maybe here or maybe in person, and congratulations again. We're very, very proud of you. Shabbat Shalom.
Awesome. And just to finish off that web address that Suzanne read brilliantly, if you just go to tinyurl.com, you will just get the opportunity to make your own short URL. So it's tinyurl.com/cluebishvat. The word clue, B-S-H-E-V-A-T. It's right here in your program. And if you're watching online, it's on facebook.com/Cong Bnai Tzedek. If you're on the CBT Facebook page, it's been posted there several times, and we'll do it again on Sunday, I betcha, because Cindy Colson is amazing. She posts often. Thank goodness for Cindy Colson. We are going to continue with Adon Olam, which is on page 321 in your prayer book, followed by Kiddush and Motzi. Adon Olam. את נשא, חפצו אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, ואחרי תכלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא אדון עולם, והוא היה, והוא הווה, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חבליל בצרה אדון עולם, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא חפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, ביעדו אפקיד רוחי, בעת תשען ועירה אדון עולם, ואם רוחי גוויעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, late nasa so cool. I'm not doing what Jenna does. Azai melech shemo nikra adon olam. I can't sustain it like Jenna does, but she'll be back. Please rise for Kiddush and Motzi. Hold your imaginary wine glasses. Naomi, is that real imaginary wine? It's real imaginary grape juice. Okay, good. Baruch atah Adonai.
Share Kiddush v'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu Shabbat kodsho ve'avon zokimanu Zikaron le'maaseh bereshit Ki yom tehila le'mikra'e kodesh Zecher l'tziyah le'Yitzrayim Ki vanu v'charta Tanu ki dashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodeshecha ve'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat.
Take a sip. Okay, everybody, point at the challah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
You guys, it's not polite to point. Shabbat Shalom.
go back to,
Yeah. Google Docs. Maybe just
There?
Google Docs. Ta-da!
awesome. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, that's, maybe try turning your phone.
Okay.
Ta-da!
Done! Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Are you okay leaving on your own? Or
I am,
do you
but
need to have
does
Jay?
that mean, I need to lock out, I mean, lock everything? You know what, I'd rather not, I'm nervous about it, let me just walk out with you. I'll just, get this done tomorrow.
I think the kid is here too. I think the guy who does the Suzanne. Are you locking up? Yeah. With Jay. Do you want to, Catherine? Do you want to hang out until they say they're leaving?
How much time are you gonna be here?
When people leave, I'm just gonna.
Okay, no, I can just come in the morning, it's okay.
We can stay later, I mean, we live.
No, it's okay, I'll be right. It looks
Thank you,
like
Jay.
this
Thank you,
is
Suzanne.
Are you
pretty.
sure? We live just down the street, Catherine, it doesn't matter.
No, actually, I think I'm okay. I think, most of this stuff is, stuff that I've got handy. What worries me is the stuff that I have to go digging for.
You're getting picked up or you needed to pack?
No, I have my car, I just, so I have to make sure I have all my ducks in a row for the service tomorrow.
No, we're fine, we're not in any hurry, don't worry about it.
No, it's okay,
I'm clean enough.
okay.
Anyway,
And we parked next to her little brown Volkswagen.
Yeah, I'm good, and that
Good Gmail
looks like a
car.
normal service, so I'll.
sure, you
Thank
want
you,
me to?
Catherine.
You're so
Good
welcome,
night.
see you in the morning.
Good night, all. Thank you.
Good night.
Is the microphone off on that? Or did I?
I don't even see the mic. Oh, there, I want to get everything cleaned up for then tomorrow.
Oh, some candles, okay. I said, I smell something burning.
Yeah, well, we want to have it nice and ready for tonight. I can't believe it. Why is there such a matter about that wine? They didn't even think until he said that. Oh, boy.
cover, it's laminated. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure, cedar rim are all faced fine down in the holders. Collect all leftover programs and various papers from seats, floors, and backs of benches. After family, turn off sound system, lights and AC. If needed, blow out candles. All right, I have it in my phone on how to turn it off. There's a video.